How are you? Good to see you. You look at your best.
I need to turn this on. No.
It's up to you. You can ask them if they can hear you.
Let's try one out. Good evening, everyone. Can all of you hear me? No. No. Okay, so we need the mic. All right. You good? How about that? Much better, right? So I'm Aroshi Director, I'm a town manager. I'm going to call this meeting to order, a special meeting of the Town Council and the Golf Commission. And I will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We all stand. Thank you. I'm going to turn the mic over to Mark Kaczynski at this point.
Thank you. Thank you, Roche. I just wanted to change the agenda here a little bit. We're going to talk just a little bit about how we got where we are at here. And the reason for that is I have seen some things out there in social media, and they're just incorrect. So we'll straighten that out right from the beginning. So this is a process that really did begin quite a while ago. In fact, it began, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, when I visited the golf course at the request of some of the couple of the employees out there, and they had concerns about how it was running and different things about the golf course, how it had been run in the past, many years ago. And from that initial discussion, we looked at actually the past town manager, Jack Healy, started looking at it and working on some changes out there. And as we forward to realizing a little bit more oversight at the golf course. And I think, I don't know, I want to say a year or 2 years ago now, maybe, we created the Golf Commission. And we created the Golf Commission for that oversight. So like many of our committees and commissions in town, they are tasked with overseeing the golf course. And over the time that they have been empowered now, they have, they come to the council, they report to the council and to the town manager. They give us recommendations on how they see it's running and improvements that we think we could make. And that's been working pretty well. But we came to a point that we felt we needed to do a little bit more with the golf course and make it run even better for the future. Obviously, conservatively, as far as the fiscal situation was part of it, but the other part of it is to bring, perhaps better service to our residents and to our visitors to the golf course. So that's really how this all started. We only had one meeting so far, so we talked about having a separate committee last year, and then we kind of came to the conclusion between the town council and the golf commission that we're kind of the two parties that are going to have to make the decision anyway. So we said, let's just have some joint meetings going forward. We started obviously with one about a month and a half ago. This is our second one where we kind of open the discussion. It's to be very informal, to look at different options. And we haven't really gotten much further than that with a couple different topics that we talked about last time. And that's really where we're at. This is just the second meeting and of probably many more. And, we have some options on the table that we'll explore as we go forward. But that's where we're at. And obviously the one topic of discussion that did come up was the sale of the golf course. Now, recognizing we're doing our due diligence as your town council and your golf commission, just to look at every single option that there is. I don't think anyone, in fact, I know no one on the town council, on the golf commission, wants to sell the golf course, or we're not going to vote to sell the golf course. That was never an intention. Was it part of a discussion? Of course it was, because we want to look at the background of the golf course and how it did get started. And actually, honestly, to look at what protections are there to keep it the way it is. Obviously, how we bought the property, and there's some federal statutes that apply, and Roche is going to mention that in a minute when I'm done. So that's really what it was about. It's one thing to put to bed very quickly, but we needed to talk about it because in order to do diligence, you got to look at every aspect of that golf course. So that's what we want to do. And this is nothing different than we're doing at every town department. We're going through every town department, trying to make it run better, trying to make it more responsible to the needs of the citizens of Berlin. That's what it's about. So somehow, I don't know how it got misinterpreted out there, but it always does on social media all the time. We all know that with everything we read out there. We take it all with a grain of salt. I'm sorry that it got ramped up that way, but I'm also happy that a lot of you showed up. That's nice to see people show up and that they care, right? And I think we all know that the golf course is probably our greatest town asset. And really the purpose of these meetings is to make it better. That's the purpose. Not to change it, not to sell it. Now there's some other options in there. Do we contract out services? Those are probably where we're headed in the discussions in the next few meetings. You know, can we improve it on the town side without contracting out? Can we just make some fixes there, you know, locally within our own entity? And those are kind of where the discussions will be headed next. And look at some, you know, if we do contract it out, how would that work? Other golf courses do that. Some seem to be successful, some not so much. So we want to make sure we look at every option. Hence, we have a presentation tonight from a group that's going to tell us about, you know, a few different things for us to think about. Again, this is still all very preliminary, very informal between the council and the golf commission. Obviously, when we come with any type of final, you know, answer or solution that we think that we arrive at, you know, they're all going to be public hearings, and everyone certainly has their right to speak up, and we encourage that because I want everybody at the table. Residents, golf commission, everyone in town should be at the table on this. Like I say, it's our greatest asset, and we're really here to protect it and move it forward because it is, you know, I think there's some changes that we do need to make, and that's from everybody involved with the golf course, and that's what we're looking to do to make it a better place. So with that, I'll let Roche just talk a little bit about, just to kind of put it to bed, just a couple of the statutes of how we acquired the golf course and why, obviously, legally a sale wouldn't be a smart thing to do, again, even if we did consider it, but we wanted to put that to bed with, you know, the best information we have. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as part of our due diligence, what we did, we looked at the federal rules surrounding the sale of property acquired through federal funding. When Timberlane was first purchased in 1970, it was purchased through HUD. 50% of the proceeds came from the federal government. The federal rules require us, if we sell it, to return 50% of the sale proceeds back to the federal government, which we are not going to do. We're not going to sell it, we're not going to return it. Second one, we followed up with HUD. HUD has conversations with HUD, they have informed us you can do it, but then you had to find an equal amount of land somewhere else as open space.
Yeah, we need to hear you.
All right, can you hear me now? Right, so based on that, it's safe to say we're going to put this to rest. The sale of Timberland is no longer, we've done our due diligence, they're going to put it aside and look at other options that are available to improve the performance of the golf course. With that, I am going to move on to the audience of citizens, and in the interest of time, if you have something other than the sale of Timberland, I would encourage you to come up here. You can certainly talk about the sale of Timberland, but that's a non-issue as of now because we have done our due diligence, we have completed it. Check it off the list because and we move on to other options. So if you need to speak up, you need to come up here so that people at home can see You need to introduce yourself, your name, address, and then state your case.
Good evening. My name is George Millard. I live at 1231 Orchard Road in Kensington. I'd just like to make two comments. As you go forward, looking at different alternatives, I mean, one of them will clearly be the outsourcing of some level of component potentially versus insourcing the maintenance or even the whole oversight of it. I just caution you to really do your homework and not get into the situation like Hartford got into and East Hartford got into. It was an absolute disaster. They ruined 3 courses, 2 in Hartford, 1 in East Hartford, and had to spend millions and millions of dollars to bring those back up to speed. So there's a lot of outfits that do this. I'm not sure there's a lot of outfits that do it really, really well. And it's a very dangerous situation. So please use caution. The other thing I would ask you to maybe look at a little bit is if you just look at the setting, it's idyllic, it's a beautiful place there. The views out of the clubhouse are amazing. Maybe look at a partnership with another outfit to totally renovate that restaurant and the dining area and really bring that to a place where not only golfers enjoy coming to have dinner or lunch or whatever, but the entire community can come there. I know Portland did that to some degree with Red Fox. They came in, they took their clubhouse, they totally renovated the whole thing, went into a long-term lease and so forth. So that might be a good avenue to do some really good capital improvements to the building and also afford Berlin a really nice place to have a lunch or a dinner or sit and have a cocktail or something looking out over the view that's out there. Thank you.
I'm Donna Bove, 85 Steeple View Drive. First of all, to the mayor's comments, I just want to say thank you for saying that. I was disappointed in what I just read on social media before coming here because I think there is a lot of bad information out there. I don't think any council member wants to sell the course. I truly believe that. And that includes both Republicans and Democrats. My opinion is one of the things that I really believe that we should look at is eliminating the ordinance that we have in town that requires the course to operate at break even. I think there were good intentions, but given that it's a golf course, weather can impact that greatly. So in 1 year, you could have a loss. You can't always make up that loss in that next year. Because if you raise the rates to cover that loss that you had, you could be out of the market. Other courses will get to play rather than Timberland. I strongly believe, and I've been involved in various departments, including Parks and Rec, when we had the course, I believe every commission, every board, councils, town departments should, and I believe they have, try and operate and work towards the best of our town. Always look at getting the best rates that you can, given the market situations. Look at costs, and that's why I have no problem you looking at various options. But I do believe the Golf Commission is closest to the reality of how that course operates. And I ask that you really consider the thoughts of the Golf Commission, along with if you have consultants that you're bringing in. But the Golf Commission, because they're golfers, they really know better how to operate this course in our town. So again, I believe that ordinance should be eliminated because that can really hold you back in any 1 year. Thank you.
My name is Robin Kopp, 65 Division Street, East Berlin, Connecticut. I'm here as a person who has a golf tournament for my son who has passed away in the town. I would never think to move it out of Berlin because, one, I was born and raised here. Two, I'm very passionate about the town of Berlin and everything I do in the town of Berlin. And three, because my son wouldn't want it somewhere like Tunxis or somewhere else outside of Berlin. I feel that The actual golf course is a gem to this town. I go there, my parents go there for dinner, I go there to golf aside from my golf tournament. People in my hospital in New Britain talk about Timberland. I feel that there's two things. If you outsource, which we just did at our hospital, we found it to be a very negative thing. If you have people in your town that work for your town, they're passionate about your town, okay? The people that work there in the maintenance, whether it's a tournament, whether it's just every day of golf, there's not that many of them, I may add, to keep up the golf course, to keep it what it looks like. And anytime you step out of Berlin and say, oh, I'm from Berlin, I golf at Timberland, people have nothing but good things to say about Timberland. So that's a benefit. The downside, I think, is somewhere we're mismanaging. If you have carts, if you have a driving range, those should be money makers that are going back into the town. I don't know where the money goes. I'm not an expert about the golf course. However, all those services that we offer, I would ask how much is coming back to benefit the town versus just being a service. I don't know what our income is on that, but I would look at how we're managing. Obviously, if we're losing money when it's a gem, we're managing somewhere where we're not supposed to be. So that's all I have to say, but I would be sad as a person born and raised in Berlin if we outsource this to somebody who really didn't have the passion and the love for this town. Thank you.
There's one more question. Okay, all right, great. Come on. Please.
Hello, I'm Mary Catherine LaRose from 26 Woodruff Lane in Kensington. I'm an occasional golfer. I'm not there all the time. I absolutely love Timberland Golf Course. I'm not a weekend golfer, which is probably the prime time for tee times and whatever. I go back to, maybe in the 80s, when it was a whole different place. Not the course itself, it was always beautiful, but how you felt when you went there. It wasn't as friendly, it wasn't as accommodating. The new management now, and Mark as the pro, it's just a phenomenal place. I can call up in the morning and I can, on a Wednesday, and I can say, can you get 2 of us out for 9 holes? Oh, yeah, let me just check. Yeah, sure, come at 3:15. They're so wonderful there. I don't see a lot of sitting around. I see a lot of busy people working there. So certainly, I think that they're all working up to capacity. So that's my own personal experience golfing there. However, there's a couple things. You have to spend money to make money. That's a beautiful golf course with a very sad building, restaurant, the locker rooms, even the pro shop is small. It's nice, but nothing's been done to that building in forever. So if you want to be able to have bigger tournaments or other things that aren't golf related, I've gone to high school reunions at Stanley. I've gone to retirement parties all over the place. We can't do that there. It's just sad. So you got to spend money to make money. And where that's going to come from, I'm not the expert on that. But as long as you want to just keep dragging it along, keeping it the way it is, you can't make money that way. The other way is, how do other golf courses make money? On the driving range. Well, tried to get a driving range at Timberland, just couldn't go through. There was some frog or some lizard or something that we couldn't get, a good driving range. So no guys can hit drivers at the driving range. I can because my ball doesn't go anywhere, but you need a driving range, you really do. We tried to get another 8, 9 holes, and that was shut down. So a lot of courses have, 27 holes, and that alleviates some weekend crowding. So again, they're doing a phenomenal job with what they have. Now, when it comes to, I'm going to talk about outsourcing. I'm definitely not in favor of outsourcing the control of the golf course. You don't want to outsource our zoning. That's coming up with the state. Oh, they want to take over your zoning and tell you what to do with your zoning. Well, we don't want that. You don't want to outsource, maybe the Board of Ed, maybe we could get a commission in here, or, a group to say how we could run the Board of Ed more effectively and spend less money. It's not going to happen. And I look at Timberland not as a department, as you mentioned, but as an asset. And it can't be run the same way. Yes, it can be run fiscally responsibly, but to bring in someone from outside that's going to nitpick and tell people what to do, I just don't think it's going to work. I do think there could be, possibly, you get a consultant to come in to see how things are done now and maybe make a few changes. Because again, you don't always know what you don't know. So maybe you hire someone for X amount of time to come in and say, okay, you do it this way, but maybe you could bulk order something and save some money. Maybe you could do, I don't know, because that's not my job. Just think about that as an alternative to someone just coming in and taking it over. And that's all, but I really hope you really save Timberland the way it is. And again, I can't say enough about the people that work there now. And, one more thing, that restaurant, considering how sad it is and small, Rienzi does an amazing, amazing job. So I'd love to keep him. I'm surprised he's still taking the contract, but his food is amazing. I go there when I'm not even golfing because his food is so great. If you haven't been there, go. Thank you.
I believe we have one person online who wants to speak. You want to connect them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, can you guys hear me? All right, I'm unmuted. I'm assuming you can all hear me. It's Kristen Campanelli. My address is 30 Sawmill Drive, Berlin, Connecticut. I just wanted to pop in and thank you, Mayor Mark, and our town councilors, all of you, for doing your due diligence on this and really, looking at everything and not making any flash decisions, and really being introspective and thinking about all these things, because it's a big decision. That golf course is a gem. It's a tribute to the middle class, to the working class in Berlin, and it's something that we should be protecting. Many of our residents use it. I'm proud to say that I've actually learned to golf over the past year. And I'm so grateful to all of the staff at Timberland, especially our golf pro, Mark. He's incredible. I've taken some lessons and stuff. That course is really something that our town utilizes. And, I am hopeful that you guys can all find a way together to make it something that can maybe turn a profit or make some more money. I realize the charter language is a little bit constraining, but I'm hopeful that you guys can all find a way to make this work. And I also wanted to express some of my disappointment, I guess, in some of our members of our town, particularly one of the other speakers who spoke before me. If you had some questions about where counselors stand or where certain people stand on an issue, you should pick up the phone and call them instead of posting things on Facebook and, saying that people are in favor of something that they're not. It's inappropriate. We're all neighbors. We all have cell phones. Pick up the phone and call. There's a lot more to be gained through having a conversation with somebody than through vilifying them on Facebook. So Mayor Mark, I'm grateful for your words at the beginning of this meeting. And I just want everybody to know that I support, your thoughtfulness in this process, and going forward with that in mind. Thanks so much.
Do we have one more? That's it. All right. So With that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Dan Brady, President and CEO of Seco. All right, come on in. Gotta come up here.
I thought that perhaps other people would like to speak as well.
But I'm waiting. But you have to come up here, please.
I will. My name is Arthur Powers. I have 857 Worthington Ridge in Berlin. I was around when we built this course. I was mayor of the town. It's 51 years ago. I was only 12 years old. Well, 14. I was also upset when they talked about selling the course. I thought that was ridiculous. We've got an asset there that is second to none. We're a small community, and as the mayor pointed out, it's a gem. And it struck me when they talked about selling it. I don't think they can anyway because of the federal and state money we got when we built the course. So the mayor is absolutely correct that shouldn't even be an option. My thought is, after all these years, the course, when you drive in there, is a beautiful course. The greens look terrific, but when you talk to the people who are, for example, the pro and others, they say there is so much that needs to be done in that course that isn't visible. I've come to the conclusion that with all the discussion about the golf course, number one, I agree wholeheartedly that we're not going to lease this out to anybody. I think that's ridiculous. But I think it would be a good idea, and I'm not sure what this firm is or what they're going to do, so I apologize. But I think it's important that we take another look at our golf course at 51 years old, as I said. There's obviously a lot that needs to be done that we just don't notice. To get the paths, I talked to the golf pro today and some of the other people. There's a lot that needs to be done and is overlooked. And as much as we love the course the way it is, it could be a lot better. And of course, as previous speakers have said, there are things that can be done that would make it more profitable. We spend $630,000 a year just on wages, salaries, fringe benefits. That's a ton of money. And I've talked to people who say $630,000. They think it could be done for, these are professional people, for more like $400,000. I don't know. I'm just saying that. But at the same time, I believe maybe it is time to have a group of professional, and as I say, I hope I'm not interfering with you at all, of people who deal with golf courses, who could run a survey on this course and see what needs to be done. And there are a lot of little things that could make it a much better course. And then make recommendations on not just the improvements, but what can we do to get more people playing. This course is crowded day after day, and we're not making the money we should. And I think that the financial situation should be studied and determine if there are ways that we can make more money by making changes. But the point I'm making is I think the time has come when we can hire an outfit, particularly in the area of maintenance, to determine just what needs to be done. Obviously, the restaurant is in dire need of improvement. We won't be able to do this all at once, perhaps, but I think that if we set up a schedule and we have a professional group that comes in there and makes the advice, gives us advice, that we can bring this course back in 2 or 3 years. I say bring it back because there are a lot of things that need to be done that have been overlooked. So my recommendation is that we hire a firm for the maintenance of the course, and still the town of Berlin will be in charge of it, and certainly, I think we can work together, and in just a few years, we'll have the best course in the state of Connecticut. Of course, I think it's the best one now, but, excuse me, I think we can work this way, and as I say, have a group, maintenance, keep a company that is really skilled in this, and see where we go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowers. Anyone else? Audience of citizens? Going once? Twice? Gone. We're close to an audience of citizens. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Grady, President and CEO of Seco. Take it away.
Thank you. Yeah. Good evening. My name is Dan Grady. I'm a resident of Connecticut. I live in Brookfield, Connecticut. And I'm here to present what our company does in regards to operational assessments and how we might be able to help the town of Berlin. I'd like to introduce my two partners at the company. We have Drew Sandraka. Drew is a recent graduate of CCSU in the hospitality industry. And his dad, Tom Sandraka, is also working with us on this. We became aware of this in the last 45 days that there was potentially an operational assessment going to happen, and we offered to go through it and help in that process. And I'll show you a little bit about what we do, and I'll also explain who we are in this presentation. So. Yeah, I think it's just you have to click it once, but. I have about 30 minutes, and I'm going to go quick, and I'm going to leave you guys some room for questions and answers, and I'll go as quickly as you guys would like. But I'll go through and explain what I understand is the problem here. A lot of you have articulated it really well in describing what you'd like to see happen for the town. And it's very similar to what I normally experience when I'm working with other customers. I'll go through the timeline. We'll talk about a set of tools that we use to do an assessment end-to-end of a golf course of all the different areas. And I'll describe a little bit about what we've done in 20 years of doing these types of operational assessments and the proposal to the town. We're actually, we've been in business 20 years, and we've done a lot of operational assessments. Golf course is fairly new to us. We've been working about a year and a half on how to do golf course assessments. Our typical customer is about a $5 billion customer with about 30,000 employees. Companies like TJ Maxx, Dick's Sporting Goods, Subway, Krispy Kreme, Wegmans. And we help them with food and beverage and a lot of other areas of their business, replenishment, point of sale, digital marketing. But the golf course is fairly new, and we're doing it, we'd like to make an offer to the town of Berlin to do a no-cost assessment in order to go through and improve the way we use our toolkits. So I'll explain that. When we first, heard, and we haven't had deep conversations, Arosha's been nice enough to go through and give us a little bit of an overview of what you might be looking for. Brendan Luddy gave us a little bit of an overview of what's happening here in the town. But we surmised that it was the decision around, sale outsourcing decision, which has been put to bed, town management of the course, and then the third side of it is really the town management and the outsourcing and what can be outsourced. When we look at what we do operational best practices. And for the golf course, we've got a whole set of tools that have been built specifically around golf operations that look at all of those various areas around strategy, course ops, course maintenance, facility management for the buildings, looking at the restaurant and bar operations, how you run tournaments, And we're in the process of finishing up how we do the diagnostics around the marketing, administration, finance, HR. We've done all those before, but putting them in the context of the golf course is what's happening right at the moment. We also go through and do a deep dives into roles and responsibilities, because one of the things that's always challenging is you know what happens at the golf course, but who's really responsible for it? And especially in your town with the governance model around the town and the golf committee, and then the leaders within the golf course, trying to make sure everybody's clear about who makes what decisions, the level of delegation and escalation on those decisions. We look at pricing models. How do you go through and set your peak price, your different tee time pricing, and do all that in conjunction with the revenue assessment for the entire course. So a lot of what all of the citizens this evening were talking about, that deep, thorough, deep dive is really what we focus on with our customers. We also look at competitor analysis. So it was interesting, I heard East Hartford mentioned as one of the courses. That one I think was outsourced to Indigo, if I understand right, and an outsourcing company. Not saying anything wrong about Indigo. They're part of one of the largest management companies in the world, Troon. But how you go through and set a contract like that and how you hold companies that you outsource to accountable is really the key. Anybody can sign a contract to outsource, but holding people accountable for the expectations that were originally promised is the critical component. And then the overall marketing assessment, where are your customers coming from, and what's the frequency and the expectations around golf. When you look at the capital side, we heard a lot about how we need to put together a plan. It's been 50 years. It's time for a refresh. And I think Arthur said it really well when he was talking about the fact that it really comes down to a list of initiatives, right? All the things you're going to have to do and prioritizing them and figuring out how much you're going to have to spend on each one of those. And then you can look at capitalization or depreciation. How are you going to pay for it over time? So that's some of what we get involved in. Again, on the outsourcing side, really what we'd be helping with is trying to go through and understand if you were to outsource something, how do you go through and put some parameters around it. When we do assessments, they're usually not long-term. Even when we do really large projects with really large customers, we always start with a tool as opposed to starting with a white piece of paper. The reason that's important is we're never going to go into any customer and say, this is exactly how you run your business, but we try and come in about 80% and say, do you do this? Yes or no? And how do you do this? And we walk around and observe. And as we do that process, we find it's a lot faster and it's also more holistic. You make sure you don't miss anything by doing it that way. As opposed to just asking people what they think, and all you hear is the top of mind conversation, what was important to them that particular day. So we go through and we collect all your materials. We'd ask you for schedules, show us your software. We'd go sit and analyze how it works. We'd look at all your bills. We'd look at all of the P&Ls and balance sheets and all the general ledger and chart of accounts to really understand the business before we really start sitting with everybody. And that's important for us to make sure we have that background on how your business runs. We then do a kickoff. We talk to all your different stakeholder groups, whether it's the town team, the golf committee, the leaders on the course. It might be your third parties that run the software that you operate the course with. It might be that you have a lot of data, but none of it talks to each other, so you really can't figure out how things are being run and where the money's going. So those are the types of things we do. We then would do a functional review. We would look at the financial, the data, and the metrics that you use to manage the course. We would look at that ecosystem and all the solutions. We'd formalize key decisions, so put together a grid of actual decisions that need to be made and who has to make them and when do you make them, which might help your meetings that you have to make that decision. Package that up and give you findings probably over somewhere between a 5 and a 7 week period, depending on people's availability. You're going into the start of season, so it might be a little tougher to get everybody's attention when they're really trying to gear back up. So we'd have to play that by ear. And other things that we do that are not part of what we're proposing right now, but putting together a more detailed full roadmap with a real true cost benefit assessments, things like that, or monitoring the implementation of the recommendations that are made, or any type of software solution assessments. Our tools are broken into strategy and scope, those operational diagnostics, and then solution assessment, and from there you get the recommendations. So one of the key things, and what I'll show you quickly, is our tools are really geared around this eye chart. It's called a business function model. And you're seeing about a third of what that thing is, and it takes you all the way from strategy to the pro shop and course daily play operations, to how you go through and you manage the maintenance, how you manage facilities, how you go through and handle every part of the operation on the course, including events and tournaments. And we look at opportunities as we go through and do that. That model is also how we would go through and look at the individual roles and responsibilities. And we'd give you back you do really well here, you have opportunities here, and here's how much we think that opportunity is worth. So that gives you that scope. The diagnostic is really a very, very detailed set of tools that go through, literally hundreds of areas within the course. It may be tree management. It may be going through and looking at how you manage the water and the environment there, as well as, how you go through and handle, your pricing and the algorithms and how you set up membership and membership groups. So we would do that deep dive. We would document everything that we do in a way that you can come back into actionable items that you can prioritize, or we can help prioritize with you. Into initiatives, right? These 7 things together could be one thing that we do in 2021. These other things might be 2022, but a way to prioritize all those activities. It sounds more complex than it is. I mean, it probably sounds complex if you're sitting out there, but the reality of it is, because it's really all set up, it's really just asking a lot of questions and then being able to help you put together a plan that's got details behind the plan, which is the key. A lot of people can draw a picture, but then how are you going to actually execute it is always the challenge. So we do best practices review in a lot of different areas. So we would go through and hit all these areas as part of a review. And as we look at those areas, we would do things like, having those best practices mapped out against opportunities around sales, margin, inventory, cost reductions, maybe regulatory things that need to be considered. And as we do all of those assessments and we document all those best practices, we'll also do it in a way that's very easy for people to grasp, right? These are the 5 things or 3 things we're going to go through and do in a particular area. And as some of those are done, some may be very obvious, some may be things that you've thought about and discounted and can't do. One might be selling food and beverage in the pro shop. Maybe it's not set up to be able to go through and do that, but that's an opportunity maybe down the road. Take some pressure off the restaurant side of it. Or maybe setting up that second cooler on the cart to be able to sell beverages, as you're going out, as opposed to going through and just having one for sand. So there's always opportunities. It's just prioritizing them and looking at the economic value of them. But as you look at all those opportunities, we also look at the measures. How would you actually tell if it's working, right? So that's a key component. We also go through and make sure we have all the right measures, right? One of the most important things if you're going to go through and manage something is to make sure you know how it's working. So we would look at all those big, try and get to what are the 5 things that everybody should be looking at to tell us the course working, whether it's revenue or, the profit on the course. But it could be, food sales, right? If you're going to invest in the food business and you're going to try and go through and grow that, how are we going to go through and know if it's working well? You might get a lot of sales, but you might not have profitable sales. So how do you keep track of it? Those key decisions, we would go through and bring those back to the group. Again, not only just decisions, but usually recommendations, right? Here's your 3 options, and here's why we think this option is the right option. So trying to go through and give the town the information they need to make decisions. So that's a little bit about what we do and how we would do it. As I said, we're a boutique company. We've been in business 20 years. We have done a lot of work in a lot of different industries. Just to give you a feel for why I think we can jump into golf, we've done a lot of work in the grocery business with a lot of different companies. We've done work with drugstores and convenience stores. We've done work with sporting goods stores. We've worked with restaurant chains. We've gone through and worked with liquor businesses. We've gone through and worked with fashion brands. We've worked with DIY, do-it-yourself type of businesses, specialty retail, tax services, theater chains, and food service chains. As I said, we usually work with large, complex companies, usually multinational, ones that have large, complex businesses, multiple brands and things like that. So this is actually a fun project for us. For me, this is fun compared to what I usually am doing. And that's why we wanted to get into it. We think it's an opportunity to go through and have some fun, but also bring the talents that we've had. And one of my goals is to pass the ability to do this type of work to Drew, who again has graduated and wants to get into this business. And he's an avid golfer and is on the board of directors of the Green Committee on Indian Hill, and has also been working in internships at Tunxus, so has experience in managing different portions of projects and the driving range specifically over at Tunxus. And so he has that desire and passion, and that's what we're trying to fuel here. Tom and I have known each other a long time, and Tom brings a whole supply chain side of this, which is really going to get into the side on efficiency on buying, right? Which is one of your being able to buy from purchasing groups is one of the areas where you might have an opportunity, and you may already be doing it. So that's who we are. Our proposal is to do this assessment at no cost to the town. We expect it's probably anywhere between 15 and 20 days of effort minimum to go through and do the assessment on our side. All we would really expect is that we get your cooperation to not have all the materials that we share with you go into the hands of our competitors. And we would like to have some flexibility around the schedule. And I'm sure you're going to need that as well, looking at the peak season. We also have a series of subject matter experts where there are areas like course maintenance. We have people that we have worked with that are able to come in that actually run these types of things that could come in and give you best practices in there where we don't have them. So the only thing we would need from the leadership team is really, the prep, the engagement, validation. Doing this type of an assessment without engagement doesn't really work. So we'd be as passionate and engaged as the other side of the desk. But our goal would be to provide you with that roadmap and the implementation plan of how you would go through and do it. And that's really our pitch. So, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Zero was it? Questions?
Yes.
Yellow.
Just quickly, I mean, this is not the same, but I've gone through like major re-engineering efforts in a big corporation. We did it where we did like 15 departments, and I saw 14 of them fail. The reason they failed is because management didn't buy into what was going on. What would you say are the key critical success factors when you're all said and done to actually getting a positive result out of this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So one of the key things is to, as I said, you got to have that leadership engagement throughout the process, but it's also go through and put in the right measures, right? And make sure everybody signs off on how are you going to tell if it's working well and be able to measure it. The other thing is details, right? One of the biggest problems with those major re-engineering projects is sometimes they're short on details. They go through and they say, here's what the outcome's going to be, but not necessarily how you're going to get there, and what are those difficult steps sometimes that have to be made to do it. You want to keep it simple. You don't want to go through and make it, so complex, which is why we typically keep the complexity on our side to do all that kind of work with you and give you more of the output. But a key part is we have to have somebody kind of right beside us. So whether it's your general manager at the course, your pro at the course, your food and beverage third party, Razik. I'm not sure the name. Renzi, I'm sorry. But that person, that's really critical, is to make sure you have that engagement of that team. And that they know that you're not there to replace them, which is really not it. So you're looking to do an operational assessment and then go through and say, okay, now what are the outcomes and what can be done to improve? Yes?
So, I guess 3 areas. One is, this is a town asset run by the town, political influences, council, board. When I look at businesses that you've worked with, they're more private industry, right? So those I was a treasurer of an international company. We had a budget that included capital items we were able to put dollars, when we had a consultant come in, put it towards a project. That may not happen in a town environment. So with all due respect, I'm trying to understand how you could really add value when I don't see your experience matching our needs. And the other question I have is, if you're doing this at zero cost, why? And what are we gonna get at zero? When we pay for
Sure.
nothing, we get nothing.
Yeah, so we've been really successful in our business for 20 years, to be perfectly honest, and, worked with a lot of really large companies. And really, I'm trying to do this to build a new part of the business, for a young mentoree that I'm trying to go through and get set up where he can go through and do things. As far as the experience, if you look at almost every area of the golf course, with the lone exception of the course maintenance side, almost every one of those is directly related to the things that I've done all my life. So when you go through and you talk about running, the pro shop, it's a miniature version of specialty retail, and I've worked with tons of different specialty retail companies. When you look at food and beverage, I've been deeply immersed in food and beverage. I've worked with 2 of the top 6 food service companies in the world, and the second largest QSR on their international global projects. So I know how to run those types of parts of the business. All of the digital marketing that you go through and do, very, very familiar, and that's really how you're gonna go through and attract customers and maintain customers through CRM, marketing, social media. So I know how to do those things, but you're right, I don't have one particular area, which is why we use subject matter experts.
How many golf courses have you done?
This is gonna be the 3rd one. Yep. Sorry?
Maintenance and everything?
Yeah, so, yep, and that's, the reason that we're going through and offering it up to the town this way is because there's, there's more risk. You're more than welcome to go through and find somebody that's got more expertise in this, but I'm sure it's not the same offer that I'm giving you. And so the risk to the town is a little bit of their resources, time, in exchange for the findings. And at the end of it, if you don't like what you've gone through and done, there's other options for you. But I think you'll be happy.
Would you, in that you haven't had a lot of experience in golf courses, would you bring in experts on golf courses in your studies for us?
Yeah, so tell me what part of the golf course I'd need to bring somebody in for.
Well, the golf course itself does need a lot of work. I've talked to the people who go on down. There's a lot of work to be done. I'm not recommending that we lay off workers, but what I would like to see is that what we recommend is what we need and how it will affect the future of the golf course.
Sure.
And I just am very interested in having people who make recommendations to us to have a background and experience where it's going to be an asset to us.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, a good example is chemical usage, right? The type of grass that you use and the chemical usage and how you maintain that is very specialized skill. And if that became an area of prioritization, because your chemical cost was out of whack with industry, right? Or the playing conditions were such that, you needed to go through and invest more in that or aeration or water systems. We would, potentially bring somebody in. But again, that probably wouldn't be part of this first exercise. It'd be one of the prioritized items to maybe look at that as one of your opportunity areas. And again, it's the roadmap is the key in my mind. Everybody has different opinions on what needs to be done. It's getting that good list of all of those options that can be prioritized with cost and benefit ranges, so that you know what those options are. Yes?
I appreciate that you're looking at this and you don't want to charge us. I do appreciate that. With the ecosystem, right, or alluding to what he was talking about, looking at the whole course, you would you're not only going to look at lean, how we're going to be lean, but how we're going to pursue moving forward, making profits. Meaning if we had to have a better clubhouse, if the grounds had to have better outcomes, whether it's better cart paths or whatever. Those are recommendations that you make at the end, or are you just looking at lean process implementation?
So the first area that we would probably look at is the strategy and the vision, right? And the key thing there is trying to make sure that everybody, and you're never going to get everybody, but try and get some buy-in as to what the goal is, right? We could go through and make all of those recommendations as a menu of options for you to be able to go through and look at that, you know, widening the cart path or whatever the things are that you need to have done. But if we could go through and at the beginning, just like any other customer, set some ground rules as to, you know, what are we really trying to target, right? And is it to go through and be able to try and get a 20% growth in the course in order to go through and self-fund some of this development of capital? You know, maybe some of those ground rules would help us say, okay, these are realistic projects that can be done. And here's maybe, you know, over a 3-year period, how to get where you want to be.
Question about that.
I'm sorry? Yes,
You talked about SNEEDs.
I'm sorry?
You were talking about SNEEDs and subject matter experts.
Yep.
And that's a good point as far as the maintenance and the agronomists, give me agronomists that you're going to call upon in this nature too, because it's, you know, I'm looking at this thing and you basically said, well, we remove the margins that we have in our restaurant, what have you. Well, that's outsourced. So this, you know, the town gets rent for that. So that would benefit Ramsey himself, but not, has no effect on the town unless the town is willing to take that piece over, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm looking at this saying, well, wait a minute, you're going to give the presentation, you didn't do your homework.
Okay.
I mean, I'm being very, we all know we're consultants, but I'm looking at this.
So I did look at what you put on an RFP, I think the year before last, to go through and outsource your restaurant and, you know, the operations. And I don't think you had a bid for somebody to come in and build a new facility and to go through and take that over at that time. So I'm just suggesting that, you know, if that is an area, and I heard a number of people this morning or this evening saying that that was an area of focus, I think it is something that should be explored. How could you go through and improve that operation? I think there is some concern as to, you know, are you trying to build a very high-end restaurant that's just going to attract people specifically just for the restaurant side? Or are you trying to go through and service the customers that are already coming to your golf course? So those are the types of decisions that would have to be made around the food and beverage side.
Dave, right?
Dan.
Dan, I'm sorry. I think you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, the decision needs to be made by the town as far as what we want.
Sure.
And we're not there, I don't even think we're there yet at this point in time.
Yep.
We can't even decide whether we need to make a profit or just cover our costs, or wait, is it an amenity or not an amenity? This is where we're at. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and free, you're right, it's time, no cost to us, right, at the end of the day. And the decision will be management's decision, what they want to implement or not implement.
I think to your point, that many of you probably work in large companies, and you probably have gone through and seen the decision-making process in large companies. It's not terribly different than towns, right? You have lots of stakeholders that all have different opinions and different thoughts. And one of the things that we usually do when we go into those companies is help them through facilitated sessions get into that list of those competing initiatives and try and get to consensus around what are we going to try and do. So that's that strategy side that we would, you know, potentially help with at the front end of this. Yes, sir.
You said you've done 2 other golf courses?
We're in the process right now of working on 2 courses, yes.
Okay, so they haven't been finished, your
No.
assessments have not been done.
No, last year was kind of a lost
Are you
year.
looking for funding for those as well?
I'm sorry? Yes. Yep. Yeah, our goal this year is to try and do 7 courses, and you know, really we're probably going to do those gratis, trying to go through and build up our methodology and our tools and make sure we're ready for market. I mean, my business is, I mean, I'm operating, you know, in other companies, and this is an investment. It's an R&D investment on my side to try and go through and grow this part of the business. Yes, sir.
What are the 2 courses that you have completed or consulted on?
Yeah, they're actually in Canada. So we're working with 2 companies, 2 courses that are owned in Newfoundland, St. John's.
What are the names?
Clovelly. Yep. So they have The two courses are owned by one family. They've been in operation for about 25 years, 12 years under this current owner. They went through and they had GGA, Global Golf Academy, go through and assess them, their performance about 2 years ago. And they looked at how to better run those courses. And that's one of the largest golf consulting companies out there. They're former KPMG consultants. They started their own company. And what they found is they gave them a very good high-level plan, but no details. And they've asked us to go through and help them with details. We have 40% of my business the last 20 years has been in Canada, so I have a lot of connections in Canada.
Did you say Canada?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
I'd like to ask one question.
Sure.
The companies that you have assessed, and if they've moved forward with your suggestions, what type of increases do they normally see? Is there an average percent increase in terms of their sales or, you know, the volume that they're doing?
No, I would say it's different. So for example, Wegmans. Wegmans, we did all of their computer-assisted ordering replenishment systems for all of their stores. So that'd be a very different kind of model than other.
A tangible, if you can take a look at a Dick's, or, because I saw Dick's up there.
Yeah.
Or maybe one of your grocery stores that you did, you know?
Yep.
With the changes that you suggested, providing they follow that model, what type of an increase roughly do you?
Yeah, so as I showed on the slide, not every company is going through a full operational review. We've done lots of different types of projects, over 150 projects actually over the last 20 years at different companies. Some of them are more of the systems replacement type. Some of them are around operational or roadmap types. Some they grew through acquisition. They bought 5 different brands and now they're trying to pull them together. So it was business process re-engineering. So they're not all the same type of companies at the same type of revenue increase.
This is all food to us.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, it's not from my side, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Sure.
The town has to pay for those. So if you make a mistake, you have to pay for that mistake.
I understand.
I get it, it's your business, but I don't think you should be saying it free. I appreciate the thought, no, you're saying it.
No call, yeah,
We have to pay.
absolutely. Yep. And again, we're just making this as an offer. We're not, I don't have any skin in the game in the town of Berlin.
No, we do.
I 100% agree with that. Yes.
So you said that you're in process with these 2 other golf courses.
Yep.
When did you begin?
About a month ago.
So you have 2 golf courses
Yep.
that you worked at a month ago. So basically it's a learning process that you're trying to gain expertise with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. We spent all last year building out all the tools, which are very golf centric. We've met with a lot of golf SMEs and had them go through the tools and make sure that we've got all the areas covered. We've got the right best practices in there. However, last year with COVID and everything else, we didn't launch last year, and we're coming out this year to.
So you can't consider yourself an expert at this point?
No. I think I'm an expert in a lot of areas on the course, how to develop processes in most of those areas, but the agronomy, and how you manage the actual, ground, no. But that's not the only area, right?
Your skill level is looking at a corporation, a business, a whatever, and making it more lean.
Not necessarily more lean,
Making it
but
what?
well, it depends on the organization, right? Some want to grow, right? Some want to go through and become more efficient. Some of them are too efficient, and they need to go through and invest a little bit more in order to go through and grow the business. It's really that once you've decided what you want to do, which we help people do, then try and put together what those activities are that help them do that. I mean, regardless of who you hire, I'm advocating that this is the process you should go through, is an end-to-end holistic review, not just having somebody come in and look at one part of your business, because from everything you guys said earlier today, you really need that. It's been 50 years, right? Great job getting it into the town, right, and making sure that the town had this facility, but it's probably time to relook at what needs to be done to keep it and to update it.
Question there.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you're going to review all of our processes, speak to those people who are currently working at the course and are involved with it, work with them, make your recommendations as to what you feel might be the best way to go. However, the final decisions as far as what we do or don't go with, or are willing to try or not to try, it's still going to be up to the golf commission and the town council to make those decisions. So I understand what you're saying, the risk of or any cost is on the town, but this ultimate decisions to go with your recommendations would still fall on the town.
The only thing I would try edit in the way you described it is, it's not us only working with the people that are working at the course. The golf commission would be a key stakeholder that we would meet with early and often, probably, to make sure that we understand, from them their thought, as well as the town, to understand what their thoughts are. We know how you're managing the P&L right now and how you allocate costs back to the course and so forth. So we really need to understand all of those components. Yeah.
Yeah, people that talk about 350 acres of the golf course being used about half of it. I'm just wondering if in your plans or consulting, and growing a business, as you say, would you be just focusing on the golf course, the land itself, or would some of your suggestions lean into encroaching and expanding on the unused land, which is currently used as recreational and conservation areas? Because Timberwood Park is not just a golf course, it's also a recreational area for many town. And I just want to know if your suggestions are going to bring the ability of people to recreate there beyond golf.
So to steal a line from Mark, when you're doing this type of work, you have to look at all the possibilities. So I would say that as we looked at what's available, do you go through and look at amenities, other things that could be added on to the golf experience that are at other courses, a potential add-on, whether it's through the, using a standard, the same clubhouse, but maybe you have pickleball or you have other types of activities. But I don't know what's possible until, I haven't done any, other than reading everything that I could about, what you've been doing. I haven't looked at that. Yes.
Based on what you presented, though, is your study going to get the council, what you guys have identified to be the options you want to have answers to? So, sell, probably not something we want to do. I'm not sure your presentation would even answer that, because I didn't see any.
Right, that's.
It's already off the table anyway, doesn't
Operational
it?
things to change? Yeah, so that's off the table. Are there operational things that can be changed to make the course more efficient and more profitable? Perhaps. Do you privatize? Where is the privatization experience to understand, should you outsource maintenance? Should you do different for the restaurant?
Sure.
The restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last two companies that I've worked with.
Maintenance or anything.
Absolutely. So the last two companies that I've worked with are a company called Sodexo and a company called Elior. They're the third and the sixth largest food service companies in the world. And Sodexo is also a very large maintenance organization. They pave parking lots, they fix your HVAC, they mow your lawns, they clean your office buildings. And what they do is they are the outsourcer that people go through and utilize. And the work that I did with them was analyzing end-to-end all of their operations around the food service as well as the maintenance side. Did a business function model, looked at all of their processes, how they're structured, their organizational structure, and put together a 3-year roadmap of the projects they would have to do to go through it and be a better acquirer of business. But that whole piece of, putting together how you outsource, a big chunk of that was, do you do it as a P&L business? Do you do it as a fee-based business? What are the different options? And how do you hold contractually the business, right? Because they're signing contracts with companies to do their outsourcing. You have to make sure that you've got the right terms and conditions in there. Yep. Yes.
When you're developing your information, your recommendations, will you be providing options for outsourcing versus keeping it in-house?
Yeah.
That's one question. The other one is, who's going to be directing you if you were to do this for us? Who's going to direct you to focus? Or are you going to be free to go in there and develop your own thing? I'm concerned that there's going to be someone who's going to want to say, but we want you to be directed towards this. Not that I'm a doubting person.
No. So it's kind of the same answer to both parts. So one of the key things is that key decisions, right? Almost every project we've ever worked on, there's 8 or 10 really big decisions that have to be made as early in the project as possible that help you with the branching, right? Am I going this way or am I going this way? Or do I need to go a lot further in both directions to get more data before I can make a decision? What data do people need? So to that point, I think it's going to be a combination of the town management, the golf committee, and potentially meetings like this to go through and be able to play back, here's where we're at, here's what the options are, and be able to make those decisions to say, okay, now before we start the next piece of discovery, is this an area that you want to explore deeper? But I'm hoping that there's somebody that's, we're working somewhat shoulder to shoulder with, as opposed to us just going off and doing things on our own. That doesn't do anybody any good, in my opinion.
One last question. What was your time frame on, conducting this?
So I believe that within about 5 to 7 weeks, we could go through the exercise. The toll gates that are going to be critical is the decision making, right? Because if we present 2 or 3 options in a particular area, but it takes 3 or 4 weeks to be able to have the right type of sessions to go through and get that decision making done, which is fine. It's probably about 7 weeks of work. It might be spread over a number of months in order to go through and have the right decision on it.
Question from.
One question from home, someone is just asking how your company knew to reach out to the town.
Repeat the question, please.
Someone from home is just asking how your company knew to reach out to the town.
Yep. So we actually, I haven't met him yet, the new general manager at the course, or director of operations at the course.
Jerry Salve, right there.
I'm sorry, we haven't met yet, Jerry. I believe you mentioned something to someone that was at.
We have a director of golf now. I didn't hear that question.
I'm sorry. Aquaturf. I believe you mentioned something to someone at Aquaturf.
Can you repeat that question out loud? Who's asking?
Someone at home just asked how their company knew to reach out to the town.
Yeah.
The recommendation for you came from a member of the council.
Yes.
Yes, Brendan, I've known Brendan for a long time, but at first, before we even knew to reach out to Brendan, to be honest, we
got, so.
Aquaturf.
Yeah, it was, somebody works with Mike Dijon at the ski area, and they were talking about, looking at the golf course, and we need to make some changes. And Mike Dijon happens to be my neighbor who works at the Aquaturf and also works at Mount Southington. And he said, I got a group of guys who are, getting into that business, And, you know, if you guys want to talk to them, and that's kind of how we understood that Timberland was looking at this type of, you know, service. And then I gave Brendan a call, and he said, yeah, he goes, we're starting to dive into the golf course. And so we just had some further conversations to say, we'd like to present. We're kind of early in the process as far as, you know, developing this. We've been working on it for almost 2 years. So it's not like we don't have anything built out yet. We've got a lot built out. We don't have it 100% built out, but we have a lot of these tools built out. So what we're looking to do is to do, like Dan said, like 5 or 7 courses at no cost, because we want to get some experience. We want some references, and we want to build a model that works for you. And work with you on what your strategy is. So I think that's kind of where we're coming from, and that's how we came to this path right now.
How many employees do you have?
I have right now 5 subcontractors, and I have 1 W-2 employee, Drew.
Six total?
Yep.
One last question.
Just one, okay. One other point that I didn't make before. I don't understand, until we resolve that issue that was brought up by one of the first speakers about the ordinance that was passed in, 2016, about the golf course being self-sustaining. Until that issue can be fixed or addressed, it seems like you're not going to have that number one thing, because if you're looking at making recommendations based on, okay, we've got to have that golf course make more money to be self-sustaining versus what a lot of the people here spoke tonight about, it's an asset, just like swimming pools are an asset, or the football field, or the whatever is an asset. And not to say we want to lose money, but if
That would be one of those very early key decisions that needs to be made.
yeah,
Yes,
that's what
absolutely.
I'm saying. It seems like that
Yes, ma'am.
ordinance may be a stumbling block to opening up things for you to really look at the golf course in all aspects.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. That is actually a question or something that the council and the commissioner will discuss. So Dan, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you coming all the way and taking all these questions. Much appreciated. And Brendan, thank you for the connection. Next item on the agenda is sorry to discuss this in front of you. That's okay, you can stay here. There's another group that's interested. It's the National Golf Foundation. What I would do, they're not trained, but they do municipal golf courses. I'm going to forward some information about them, including some of the work that they have done to the council and the commission for your consideration, and then we decide where we want to go from there. So that will be the next steps that early as next week, we'll start communicating that information to you. Before adjournment, I need the assistance of the Golf Commission and the council for the acceptance of minutes, consideration of minutes of the February 11th, 2021 meeting. Can I have a motion?
Motion to move forward, accept those minutes.
Seconded. Any questions, comments, or changes
We good?
about the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Motion passed. Before we adjourn, the mayor, Mr. Mayor, do you have any closing comments? You don't
No.
have to, just if you,
Yeah, so just
or council members or commission members, you want to make any closing remarks?
any comments you guys want to make? I mean, it's kind of our meeting, so yeah. why not? Appreciate you guys presenting. Thank you. And thank really, everyone for coming. It's great to get feedback from the community. We desire that every time we have a council meeting and any meeting, so I do appreciate everybody being here.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for your presentation.
I think it's gonna come down to one thing. I mean, people here obviously read social media. They read the minutes the last time when, sale was an option. It's actually in the minutes. But I think we have to, everything we're doing at the commission is based on profitability, because the mantra coming down is you gotta make money, you gotta make money, you gotta make money. And I think it's time to, ask the council members straight out, what are your feelings on this? And what are are we gonna make money? Are we amenity? Do the residents deserve something more than the non-residents? I mean, these are the questions that have to be answered, because every decision we're making with the council is based upon profitability. And I have no idea where that came from. We're sitting here dumbfounded. What is going on here? And I think, can we just take of all the council members that are here, and I hate to put you on the spot like that, but this is the place to do it. So just call it what it is. Are we here to make money? Is it an amenity? Or are we here, what are we here to do?
Of course.
And I understand Mark, I understand public costs financially, I get it. I get it, but.
That's all we're talking about.
We gotta.
That's all we're talking about. We're talking about, as we are with every department, looking at how we run it, how it runs. Of course, the golf course is an amenity for our town, for our citizens. We know that, but we can't ignore how fiscally responsible we run it. That doesn't mean that's the only thing we're looking at, and it's certainly not, because I think we all know, from what I've learned in the last few years as the mayor, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed out there. And the golf commission, that was the reason for putting you guys into place, was to look at that, and you've been doing that. And we've been fixing things, and it's been moving forward. I just think there's a little bit more we need to do. I think we need a plan for the future. I don't think we have that, right? We really haven't. We've had those discussions. You've come to council meetings and given us options, but we haven't made that decision yet. And I don't think we have enough information to make that decision. So we need to, do a little bit more homework on it. Which, whether it's a consultant we hire or we do it internally, I tend to think of all the meetings I've been to, many members of the council and the golf commission might be all over the place with we all have our own opinions, no doubt about it. So I think some type of consultant, whoever it may be, would help us focus a little bit more, because I don't think we're focused at all, quite frankly. So we need to have a little bit of a plan to look at what we need to do and then figure out which option we're going with. But fiscal responsibility is always there, but that's not, by far, not the only thing we need to look at. I think we all know that. So that's my opinion, but whatever anyone else has to say. Differences of opinion, we welcome that, whatever you want to say. Brett?
Okay, I just wanted to come forward and stop the rumor mill before it gets any farther. We had our first meeting a couple months ago, and a couple days after the meeting, young Drew gave me a call. I had no idea that he was working on this entrepreneurship and starting this business. I knew he was a hospitality major. He was a very good golfer at Southington High School, went and played under Kyle Gallo at CCSU before they got rid of the golf team. He's very familiar with Timberland and the golf industry. I have no interest in Secor whatsoever. I didn't even know Tom and his son were going down this venture I just want to put it into those stupid numbers. When we started the golf commission, one of the speakers that spoke at the first audience of citizens was Dick Burkhardt, the longtime pro at Shuttle Meadow. Was there 37 years or something like that. And he said, I don't disagree with the golf commission. If you told me it was going to be 10 members, it should be 7. If you told me it was going to be 7, it should be 5. And he's probably right. That going forward, if we decide that we vote and we let Secor get involved, it's not going to be everybody from the town council and everybody from the golf commission. It should be key people. Keep it small and, get the key people from the finance department, the town manager's office, the golf pro. I think Mark probably knows Drew. So I think it's a good fit. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, this is just, again, one presentation. This is really our second meeting, and one of the reasons why we did this, because the last meeting by WebEx, we couldn't even hear each other. So it didn't work out at all. So we basically got nothing accomplished at the first meeting. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, but that's why this was important to have this tonight. And this presentation kind of came up really we didn't even know at the last meeting that was happening. So it's the very beginning of the process, and we have obviously another presentation that we'll look at another group, and we're going to have several more meetings like this, and we'll have them here so we can all communicate, and that's where we're at this point. Anyone else? Golf Commission, Town Council, it's our meeting. You guys want to say anything? Now would be the time. If not, you guys want to give your opinions?
Yeah, obviously just want to address the things that are out there on, Mike Uranaga, 1075 of Orchard Road, also member of the Town Council. I know there's a lot of comments out there about, people wanting to sell the golf course, and obviously my comments were out there first and foremost. The minutes that I just read from the last meeting state fully what I said, which was basically we're putting everything on the table. We should all try and figure out what we want to do. And that's a pragmatic approach to anything we do in the town, that everything needs to be on the table. I didn't go ahead and say, hey, we should sell the golf course, let's do it. Obviously, I don't think I really said that at all. If you listen to the transcript, that's what's there. If you look at the minutes, right there too, I said everything should be on the table. And again, it's a working meeting that we had, and it was one meant to just put every option on the table. And I also said that I would love to keep it in the town as well. And I've listened to my own comments back, so I know that I did say that. So again, I'm here to do whatever is best for the town, and I really want to do what's best for the town. I enjoy Timberland. I've been golfing there. I've been hiking there, which I didn't even know they had hiking trails there until about a year ago, and I've been enjoying those. So I'm looking forward to hopefully doing the best for the town and what works. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Golf Commission, Council, any final comments? Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
You want a motion?
Thank you.
So moved.
So moved. Okay.
All in
Meeting's
favor?
adjourned.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. and
Thank you,
have a good night.
everyone.
Safe night.